Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. O Mother, hold our hand, take us across from unreal to real, from darkness of ignorance to the light of the wisdom. Take us from death to immortality. Om peace, peace, peace. Jai Guru. Divine Mother, welcome all devotees. Notice we keep hearing that nothing in this universe is possible without the divine wish. It is so. And that divine wish is the one which we are praying to, that take us from unreal to real, take us from darkness of ignorance to the light of the wisdom so that we can perceive the world, but with the grace. And this is as per Dvaita Vedanta, dualism, bhakti, yoga. As per Jnana Yoga, this duality finishes and it is Advaita, Ekam Sat, Bahuda Vidanti. We call it by many names. One alone is truth. And that one alone is that what we are talking about, that Ishvara, that mother, that awareness who is holding our hand is also within us. So, as per Dvaita Vedanta, when you say God is everywhere, God is in everything, as per Advaita Vedanta says, you alone is the truth. Aham Brahmasmi, main hi Brahma hu. Now, there's a beautiful question came up, and that question is started off by saying that as per Advaita, Chaitanya or consciousness or Chit, it cannot express itself. It utilizes the mind and mind through the brain and brain through the senses to express itself and to perceive the world also. So experience, if you recollect, definition of experience is object plus consciousness. So there has to be an object and there has to be a consciousness. So with which you experience the world. Now the question came up that if I say that I am an enlightened master, Aham Brahmasmi, firstly, when I say I am Brahman, who's experiencing it? Consciousness cannot experience itself, meaning it becomes an object. Experiencing of anything becomes an object. So that means that when you say that through the subconscious mind, through the reflective consciousness, consciousness reflecting on the mind is reflective consciousness, which in turn empowers the brain and the senses, which brings back the world to the mind. Now, when I'm saying that I am Brahman, it means you are saying that you become an object. That means Brahman is an object. This is the confusion. And this question, you'll be very happy to know, 700 years ago, this question was asked in the ancient India. And the answer is very powerful, very beautiful, and it's a very interesting thing for this Thursday evening for us to know and discuss more about it on the coming Sunday. Now, how do you experience this Aham Brahmasmi? That means it becomes your mind is necessary. Mind is necessary to experience. The answer to this question is yes and no, both. Let us first understand when you're saying that I have become enlightened master, that I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. So it is a knowledge. So let us understand first how do we gain knowledge? We as human beings, how do we gain knowledge? Now, I will try and make it as simple as possible. As Divine Mother, without her wish, cannot be spoken anything. And the same way is the Advaita Brahman, the consciousness. Pray to the consciousness. Now, let's say I experience a flower. How do I experience the flower? Light falls on it, and then the flower, I experience it with my eye. Now, the flower doesn't enter my eye. I'll go blind. Light falls on it and comes back and into my optical nerve and the lenses. It produces tiny, tiny particles of electricity with that light, which in turn, through the optical nerve and the lenses, it goes into the brain and not anymore light particle. It goes as an image. And if you recollect, in our school days education, it goes as an inverted image, which brain makes it right way up and sends it. Imagine the flower doesn't enter the brain. Brain will, I'll have to be operated. So what goes in? An image goes to the brain. This is how I'm gaining knowledge, right? Now, that image goes to the mind. The mind has to have had data. If the mind is 1 year, 2 years old, it will look blank by looking at the flower, and mother and the father and the teacher will say, what beautiful rose or what beautiful gladiola, right? So the mother, the father, the teacher gives the data to the mind, and mind progressively receives the data to understand this is the flower called rose or a gladiola. This is how we are gaining knowledge. Now, what is happening in terms of Aham Brahmasmi? Consciousness is reflecting through the mind. The mind is now reflecting on itself. It is like, think for a second, that mind is like the moon and consciousness, chit or soul or the spirit, is like the sun. The sun falls on the moon, and the moon, called mind, is now throws the light onto the earth. Imagine there is no electrical power, so that you see the earth with the full moonlight or whatever moonlight, you can recognize it. Now understand that that moonlight which goes into the earth is actually not moon's light, because moon doesn't have its light. You remember your school education. It's the sun's light reflects through the moon onto the earth for us to see the moonlight. We never realize it once again. At any time, when you see the moonlight at night on a full moonlight, suddenly full moonlight went by. We never say it's what beautiful sunlight. We always say moonlight. That's again ignorance. Now, though we know technically that it is not moonlight, it is sunlight, but we, conversationally always say moonlight. Similarly, the mind is always trying to objectify everything. And that is why the question comes in to say, how will the Brahman realize itself? Because Brahman is not an object, but the moment it is realizing through the mind, it becomes an object, because experience is object plus consciousness. That means it is like, imagine, okay, imagine on a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse meaning it is the light, sun's light, which falls onto the moon. It is going back to the sun. Does it mean that the sun which reflects on the moon, instead of going into the earth, now it goes back to the sun? That means the moon reflected light, which you may call moonlight for today's discussion, is lighting up the sun. It is like taking a candle light or taking a torch in the daytime, full sun, and showing the sun trying to look at the sun with a torchlight or a candlelight? No, that is absurd. It is like you remember in our school days, in the earlier days. Now these days, because these days everybody carries those plastic or fiber plastic kind of tiffin boxes. In our days, we used to carry metal boxes, stainless steel metal boxes, in which, and I remember we used to finish the breakfast and then, of course, jokingly, we used to make the sunlight reflect through that metal into the face of our friends and all that playfully. And they would suddenly see the light. And now just see, imagine you have a dark room, full sunlight, but the room is dark. Why? Because the sunlight can't enter. Now, if I use that metal reflection or a mirror, I can reflect the sunlight into the room and room will become lit up. Correct? The darkened room will be lit by that light. I cannot turn that reflected light with my tiffin box, metal box, or the mirror back into the sun to say I'm lighting up the sun. That's absurdity. That's stupidity. Same way, when reflective consciousness is the mind is lit up by the consciousness. That mind itself is necessary for it to go beyond mind, to realize I'm not real. Real is something else which is beyond the mind. So that way the mind is necessary. But the other way, when you look at it, the mind cannot light up, just like the metal box cannot light up the sun, mind cannot light up the consciousness. Because consciousness is, infinitude time more powerful than any mind of the universe. So what happens here? This is where, just like the sun, nothing can illuminate the sun. Same way, consciousness, Chit, Chaitana, Brahman, cannot be lit by anything. It is called Swaprakasha. It appears to human mind and human senses and human brain. Why? And this is why the Western world cannot understand till now the hard facts of consciousness. Google it. David Chalmers, Australian philosopher, NYU, New York University, writing Hard Facts of Consciousness. Google it, wonderful reading. Ned Block talking about Vedanta. Harvard Divinity School, David Clooney is talking about Vedanta. Please Google it, Hard Facts of Consciousness. Wonderful reading. So, this consciousness cannot be objectified, because we tend to objectify everything because we've grown up believing everything is an object, because everything is outside of us. So why are we ignorant about that antahkarana? What is the within us? That chit, that consciousness. You know why? Because consciousness lights up the mind. Staying silently obtrusive, like Shiva, Lord Shiva is always silent. Mother Kali is standing on Lord of Shiva. And Mother Kali is the Maya. So the illusion is created, the Maya is created through the mind, through the brain, through the senses. And we think everything is out there in the world. And we think that is real. And this is why we have now become, everything is objectified. We do not realize something called subject, something the opposite of object. So that opposite of subject is the truth, is the reality. The reality is within, not out there. And now, for young boys and girls and the young adults and ancient people, all of us, including you and me, we need to realize that the power to create anything in this universe happens by visualization. But that visualization, you're using the mind but with the power of the consciousness. And important is, you want to create something in the world, visualize it, believe in that consciousness, and work towards it. It will happen. The power of the consciousness is infinitude. It's Ishvara, is God. Can do anything. In Dvaitavad, in Bhakti Yoga, God can do anything. God is everywhere. God is in us, within us. In Advaita, that Advaita Ekam Sat is within us. With that, you use your mind to visualize it. Believe in that with your visualization power, just like Thomas Alva Edison, 1090 odd is done the innovations. Till today, nobody has crossed 100, 200. And he visualized all of them. Wright brothers, today you all are flying. Nobody could believe about flying. Wright brothers visualized it, work at it, and made it happen. Same way, you visualize it, you think about it, and make it happen. I'll give you one simple little understanding. You are working in the dark alley towards a temple or in a village or in today's road where filled with lots of trees, and you are with your friend or your partner walking hand in hand, and suddenly you see something which looks like a snake, and your partner said, "Snake, snake, snake." You say, where? Oh, there it is. So you quickly take out your mobile and switch on the flashlight. And you say, no, it's a coiled up rope. It's only a rope. Now think for a second. Understand this question. Very important question, but very simple. What appeared to you snake was actually a rope. And because of the ignorance, because of the darkness of knowledge, which is called ignorance, you thought it was a snake. My question to you is, when you threw the light of the knowledge on the rope, the snake went away. Think for a second. This is how you and I look at it. Snake just went away. How can the snake go away? Because it never existed. Snake was an illusion. Same way is the illusion is all object in the world. Recollect now, I have shared with you many times, 2022, 6th of October, 3 Nobel laureates, Alan Aspect, Joel Zellinger, John Clinton, discovered this world is not real. So that earth, that object outside, with the senses which you pick up, is not real. So what the Nobel Prize winners say, that you need an observer to find the world. In other words, you need a drashta to see the drishya. You need a seer to see the seen. You need the eye to perceive the world. If I'm unconscious, if I'm in coma, the world vanishes for me. In other words, I need my mind to be powered by the consciousness, which in turn powers the brain and powers the sight and the ear, nose, five senses to perceive the world. When you realize this, through the Jnana Yoga, you are nearing to be realized master, to know that that alone is true. I'll give you one tiny story and with which we'll finish today's session. Now, think for a second. Just listen to this story. I have shared it some time ago. Let's see if you recollect it. 10 men wanted to cross the river to go to the temple. And the river was fast flowing, low in water, but up to the neck. They could cross. So they took out their clothes, they didn't want it to go wet, and put it on their head. This is how in the villages, in the mountain, they do that. So they crossed the river, went onto the other side, and they took out their clothes, they dried themselves up, and they put on their clothes. And before they started, one of them said, "Hey, wait, let's count once again." Current was very fast. Let's count it whether we all are there. And he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But we were 10. Where is the 10th one gone? Let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God, the 10th one is drowned. He's gone in the fast current. Other one says, you are a fool. You don't know how to count. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God, you're right. 10th one is gone. And third one counted, fourth one counted. Everybody sat down and started howling. And there comes the wise man. Wise man comes and said, what happened? Why are you crying? They said, sir, we crossed 10 of us and one is gone in the fast current. The wise man saw 10 people were there. So obviously what was happening, they were counting 9 and they were thinking it's out there. They objectified the world outside. They forgot about themselves. So the wise man said, count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He said, see, there are only 9. And wise man catches hold of that person who was counting and said, Dasamatvasi, you are the 10th one. And he said, oh, really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I am the 10th. This is the ignorance which everybody realized. Now, this is the typical spiritual journey which Vedanta taking all of us across. First is ignorance. Darkness of knowledge, ignorance. Because of ignorance, they landed up into error that fast current has taken us across. And that error caused by the ignorance that they forgot to count themselves, created what? Vikshepa or sorrow or grief. They started howling. And then came Paroksha Jnana, came the teacher, came the guru, came and said, no, don't cry, wait, count again, and I'll show you. So he shows that, look, just like the snake wasn't there, it was the rope, just like that, your Atman, your spirit, your Chetana alone is the truth. This mind, the brain, the body is not true. That's Maya, that's illusion. Just like the science is catching up now with the Nobel Prize winners. So the Paroksha Jnana, Guru says, you are the 10th one, Dasamatvasi. And then comes, they count it and they say Aparoksha Jnana. And they say, oh, I am the 10th one. And in that what happens? They feel joyous and Ananda Prapti. And they attain, this is the typical spiritual, and then the journey called self-realization. I am the one. I hope you liked the story today. We'll do more on this on Sunday. Jai Guru.